Hello, this is your Good Neighbors Network headlines for August 1st through August 7th, 2026, brought to you by World Grace Project. This week brought major developments involving Haitian TPS, birthright citizenship, and legal services for unaccompanied children. USCIS changed how it handles applications with missing evidence, and ICE announced a nationwide body camera policy. We'll also catch up on a federal law enforcement operation in Iowa, look at the U.S. job market, and update you on the wars involving Iran and Ukraine. Let's begin with immigration. There was another major change this week for Haitians with temporary protected status, or TPS. On Wednesday, a federal judge lifted the court order that had temporarily prevented the Trump administration from ending Haiti's TPS designation. The decision followed an earlier Supreme Court ruling and clears the way for the administration to end TPS protections for hundreds of thousands of Haitians. USCIS also changed an important policy this week for people filing immigration applications and petitions. Beginning August 5th, immigration officers have greater authority to deny a request when required. Evidence is missing or does not establish eligibility without first sending a request for evidence or notice of intent to deny. USCIS says officers can still request additional evidence when appropriate, but applicants should not assume they will receive another opportunity to provide missing documents after filing. The change applies immediately to most pending and newly filed requests. There was also a major development involving birthright citizenship. On Thursday, President Trump signed new executive orders seeking to limit automatic U.S. citizenship for additional categories of children born in the United States. The orders follow a Supreme Court decision earlier this summer affirming birthright citizenship for children born in the United States to parents who are undocumented or temporarily present. The administration is now arguing that historically narrow exceptions can apply to additional groups, including some children whose parents the government classifies as alien enemies or agents of foreign governments. The Supreme Court did not rule that the president can broadly classify newborn children as alien enemies or eliminate birthright citizenship through executive action. The new orders represent the administration's legal position and are expected to face additional court challenges. Another immigration story involves unaccompanied immigrant children, a federal contract supporting nearly 100 organizations providing legal services to unaccompanied immigrant children expired at the end of July. The network had been serving more than 24,000 children in immigration proceedings. The federal government is now moving toward a contract worth up to $150 million with a small Houston law firm. Advocates and some lawmakers have questioned whether the new system will have enough experienced immigration attorneys and resources to serve so many children. The services can also reach children who have been released to sponsors and are living in communities around the country while their immigration cases continue. ICE also announced that its field officers will be equipped with body-worn cameras nationwide by the end of September. The announcement follows increased scrutiny of immigration enforcement and several fatal encounters involving ICE officers. Officers are generally expected to activate cameras during enforcement activities, but ICE will retain significant control over whether footage is released publicly. Transparency advocates say questions remain about accountability if the agency has broad discretion over releasing recordings. Now to Iowa. We want to catch you up on a federal law enforcement operation in central Iowa that occurred late last month. From July 21st through July 24th, the U.S. Marshals Service led a multi-agency operation called Operation Heatwave. Federal officials say 61 people were arrested and 97 felony warrants were closed, targeting people wanted for serious offenses. Iowa immigrant advocates later raised concerns about federal agents' tactics and the effect of large federal enforcement operations on immigrant communities. The U.S. Marshals Service described Operation Heatwave as a fugitive enforcement operation targeting people with criminal warrants, not an immigration raid. Now to the economy. New federal employment numbers released Friday show that the U.S. job market weakened in July. Employers cut approximately 23,000 jobs, and earlier estimates for May and June were revised downward. The unemployment rate fell slightly to 4.1%, but the number of people participating in the labor force also declined. 1 month does not establish a long-term trend, but the report adds to signs that hiring has slowed. Now to international news. The war involving the United States and Iran continues, although negotiations are underway over the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important shipping routes. Iran and Oman have been discussing arrangements that could allow more shipping through the strait. President Trump said Friday that he is personally involved in talks with Iran and believes an agreement could be possible, that there is no final agreement, and fighting and military tensions continue. The Strait of Hormuz is important because a significant share of the world's oil passes through it, meaning disruptions can affect global energy markets and fuel prices. The war in Ukraine also continued this week. Russia continued missile and drone attacks against Ukraine, while Ukraine continued attacks against Russian military and energy infrastructure. Ukraine is also expanding its missile production and air defense capabilities. We will continue following both conflicts and report major developments as they happen. That's your Good Neighbors Network headlines for August 1st through August 7th, 2026. Good Neighbors Network is a free multilingual news service from World Grace Project, helping refugee and immigrant communities stay informed and connected.